Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Hello, boys and girls. This is Traci Whitley with your children's story. And today I have my friend Cooper with me, who is a Beagle and Chihuahua mix. Well, I wanted to tell you about something that happened way back when I was in high school. And when I was in high school, I drove a big GMC truck. And I drove it everywhere. And I lived in the state that's shaped like a mitten. Do you know what state that is? I'll give you a second to guess. Did somebody say Michigan? Well, you're right. And I lived way down in the southern part of Michigan. And one Christmas, when I was 18 years old and a senior in high school, a friend of mine invited me home for Christmas with his family. And I thought, oh, that's great. He says, well, can you drive me? I'm like, okay. So we started out. And up between the top of Michigan and the upper peninsula of Michigan, there's a big, long bridge. And it's called Mackinac Bridge. But a lot of people called it Big Mac. And so we were driving up there, and it was kind of snowy, and it was windy, but we were doing okay. And so I'm traveling along, and I had my little Beagle in the truck with me, and her name was Honey. And we got to Mackinac Bridge, and we saw warning lights flashing, and so we stopped. And a gentleman came out and he said, well, we just closed the bridge to small vehicles because it's too windy, and we're afraid the wind will blow their vehicles off the road or off the bridge. But since you drive a big truck, you can go ahead across. Okay, so I had my Beagle close to me and my friend on the other side, and we started to cross the bridge. Now, Mackinac Bridge is 5 miles long, and that's a long way to go, and it crosses over between Lake Huron and Lake Michigan. And so here we went across, and the wind was blowing, and I could feel my truck moving. And we get out towards the middle, and then guess what? Bang! My tire blew out. Oh, let me tell you, it scared me. And so we were stuck in the middle of the bridge, and the wind was whipping, and then it started pushing my truck over and over and over to the edge of the bridge. Well, I tell you what, my heart was up in my throat, and I was so scared. And the only thing I could think to say was, please help me. Please help me, Lord. And that's all I could say. That was my prayer, a small little prayer. And my friend thought, well, I'll get out and flag someone down. I'm like, well, no, he'll get blown off the bridge. And so I waited, and I just prayed, and I hugged my little Beagle. And I'm like, Lord, please help me. And then a couple minutes later, as the wind is pushing us into the side of the bridge, that same gentleman that I talked to drove on the other side. And we're like, oh, I'm flashing my lights and everything. And then 5 minutes later, I see him pull up behind us. And he was able to go across, get his tow truck, take our truck across the bridge, and he even had the exact tire that I needed to make my truck continue the journey. But I'm wondering, why did he go across the bridge? Well, boys and girls, it had a lot to do with this, a coffee mug. Well, what he told us is that he was sitting in his office and he wanted a cup of coffee and could not find a coffee mug anywhere. He's like, man, I must have left it across the bridge. And so he said when he drove across the bridge, he was able to find us. And you know what, boys and girls? He said normally he wouldn't have driven across the bridge except for trying to find his coffee mug. He just had to have that coffee mug. Well, you know what that tells me? That Jesus used a coffee mug to answer my prayer. Something so small and insignificant. Well, you know what that tells me? Is that Jesus listens to any of our prayers. And in the Bible, in Jeremiah 29:12, and it says, when you call on me and go and pray to me, I will listen to you. Isn't that great? Even small prayers, God listens to. And it doesn't matter who we are or what size we are or how old we are, Jesus is listening because he promised us right here in the Bible. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.